Over Heels.
Hello everybody, welcome to Head Over Heels. Two quick things. The first, I'm from the United States of America, so if you're from a different country or a different culture, the things that I say here, they may not apply the same to you. The second, I am not a licensed professional. I just love to be in love. That's what life is about, isn't it? Finding that person that will just make your life complete. Life is too short to be single. Where's your lovin'? Well, if this sounds like you're in luck because Valentine's Day is coming right around the corner. And because of that, we're doing Head Over Heels all week where we examine relationships and mental health. Today we'll be going over 7 reasons why you are a serial monogamist. You know those great feelings that you get when you fall in love with somebody? That overwhelming flooding of emotions, it just feels intoxicating. Well, they may actually be the first reason why you're a serial monogamist, and that could be that you are addicted to love. A lot of the feelings that we experience in our body when we fall in love with somebody, especially in those beginning stages, that honeymoon period when we're getting to know somebody, those feelings are very similar to the feelings that we experience when we take drugs. And because of that, the reward system in our body, just like we see in things like gambling or video games or other activities, can become activated, and we can start to feel like we need to be in love, like we have withdrawal symptoms when we're not in love. Now, I don't want to mix this up with an actual chemical dependency, but there is some similarities, and it's something to consider when it comes to serial monogamy. He's texting me. The second reason why you might be a serial monogamist is actually something I've talked about quite a bit here on this channel, which is your attachment style. You may have an insecure attachment style. Your attachment style is basically the way that you bond with people, generally in intimate relationships, and it's something that gets shaped in your early childhood years, although it can change throughout life. If you tend to be somebody who's a little bit more on the avoidance side of things when it comes to vulnerability and emotions, you may get into relationships to try to avoid feeling those things. On the other hand, if you tend to be a little bit more preoccupied, you may jump into relationships because you want to be around somebody and you want to be close at all times. Either way, the style of attachment that you have is pushing you towards bonding with somebody. And that drive to bond with somebody is what's keeping you from having a period between relationships and becoming a serial monogamist. I haven't heard from her in 10 minutes. Is she cheating on me? The third reason why you might be a serial monogamist is kind of related to that, and that is that you may have low self-esteem. Sometimes when we don't feel so great about ourselves, we're not secure when we're by ourselves, we look towards other people to try to fill things that we feel are missing. We start to become a little bit dependent. We seek reassurance from other people to let us know that we are okay, and sometimes we do that in the most intimate of relationships because that feels like a strong connection and somebody that we can really trust to let us know that we're okay. This is not the healthiest way, of course, to have a relationship, but it could be what's driving you into having a relationship over and over and not just being by yourself because you don't feel secure and good by yourself. I'd be nothing without him. The fourth reason you could be a serial monogamist has to do with that period between relationships that you're jumping over. And this is that you don't have good coping skills. Related to not being alone, part of the reason why we don't like to be alone sometimes is not just because we don't think so great about ourselves, but we don't know how to deal with the anxiety and the turmoil and the problems that come up in our lives. So what we try to do sometimes is find somebody else who can deal with that for us, or at least be somebody who's a partner with us in dealing with that. We may place a little bit too much expectation on what a relationship is supposed to do for us, and we may start to enter into relationships that aren't so healthy. But when we feel this way, we jump from relationship to relationship to relationship without knowing how to cope in between. Oh no, it's that feeling again. Let's see if anyone matched me. You may be noticing that a lot of these things kind of tie together, and that's because they can. The fifth reason may be one thing that ties all of these things together, and that would be that you may have had an abusive relationship in your past, and it may make you feel dependent on other people. When we experience abuse, particularly emotional abuse, it does a number of things to us. One of those being that our self-esteem gets lower, another being that we maybe don't have the coping skills that we entered into an abusive relationship with. We could start to feel like we're addicted to the relationship as the person who's been abusing us plays with our emotions, and we have that cycle of feeling really high and excellent, and then we go back down low again, and then we go up high again because we're constantly being toyed with in the relationship. That feeling of needing to be with that partner that was abusive towards us, we may carry that feeling with us and start looking for somebody else to replace them really quickly. And unfortunately, we may replace them with somebody else who's just like them, who's also emotionally abusive. You could see how this could quickly start to snowball into a series of relationships in serial monogamy. I can't be alone. I need someone to complete me. The sixth reason why you might be a serial monogamist is actually something that we all experience, and that is that you may feel some social pressure that you have to be in a relationship. Depending on the norms of where you live, you know, it's common for everybody to feel like you should be in a relationship when you're younger, that you should be planning to be married or have a child or children. These things can all contribute to you feeling like you have to find somebody to be with. And this is also going to be influenced by the people in your family, by your friends, by the people you hang around with, what circles you're in. All of that kind of contributes to the pressures of what it means to be in a relationship and how much you feel like you need to be in one. Combine this with some of the other reasons that I've talked about, and you can see why it would push you towards getting into a relationship even if one just ended. Look at this, Stacy's getting married. The seventh reason why you could be a serial monogamist is actually probably the most common, and what it is that you're avoiding the grief and the loss of the old relationship that you just got out of. The ending of a relationship is always painful. That's just how human beings experience loss. We are aware of what that means. We are aware of what it means when something ends and what it means when we may not see somebody again. It's only natural when you were with somebody for a long period of time, somebody that you were close with, somebody that you shared your vulnerabilities with, that you're not going to feel so great after a relationship. But those feelings can be really overwhelming. They're very often compared to the feeling when somebody passes away. It may actually involve the same systems in our body that we experience when somebody passes away. So because it's so painful and it's such a hard thing for anybody to have to go through, it can be natural to want to skip that step and move forward and find somebody to take your mind off of all of it and to start feeling good feelings again. It's sort of like a way to try to take a shortcut over the grieving process. The problem is that you can't take a shortcut over the grieving process, and it will probably show up in the new relationship. My ex, I'll find someone else. Being in an intimate relationship can feel amazing. I love it. It's normal and natural to want to be close with somebody. We're social creatures after all. But if we don't pause in between relationships, we miss out on the opportunity to learn about ourselves and learn about those complicated emotions that we're feeling. If we can take the time to learn to be comfortable with that vulnerability and those darker, deeper flavors of emotions that we're experiencing, that will actually lead to enriching the next relationship that we get into. If all of this sounds way too overwhelming for you, of course, I always recommend going and see a therapist. But if you're just looking for something to kind of think things over, I have some free worksheets over on my Patreon page on self-esteem. Why not check them out? Patreon is a place where I support people doing the things that they love, and I love that my supporters are on Patreon helping me to humanize mental health. Thank you to everybody who's joined me over there. If you like learning about mental health and relationships, maybe you want to learn something about rebound relationships or attachment theory, I've got all of that. Why not head to youtube.com/RyanLiberty and hit subscribe? Now, why not be brave and share a little bit of your story? Are you a serial monogamist? Why do you think that you are that way? Did I miss something? I'm sure I did. There's way too many factors that go into why people do the things that they do. So why not share your story? Leave it down in the comments below and we can all learn from each other. Thanks for joining me, everybody, on Head Over Heels. I can love myself as much as anyone else can.